Hello folks, Dick Fairburn here. Normally my videos come out once a week on Friday evening, but I think the incident with the attempted assassination of Mr. Trump yesterday forces me to come out here and do another. I want to talk about the Trump assassination attempt yesterday from a sniper's perspective. What kind of mistakes were made? Because there were mistakes made by the attacker and there were mistakes made by the U.S. Secret Service. Not being critical, I'm just saying let's do a good analysis and let's make sure this can't happen again. My personal background, for those of you that might be seeing me for the first time. I have over 40 years of law enforcement experience, including a great deal of experience as a police sniper. I've been through a couple of major police sniper schools, and I have helped teach sniper classes in a couple of different states. In addition to that, I'm the author of the book Police Rifles, long out of print now. That was the first book dealing with rifle use by police agencies. Way back in about 1990. So I think I can speak pretty effectively on this. I've also got a lot of experience as a long-range rifle shooter, primarily in hunting big game out west. All right, here's what we know, at least tentatively. Yesterday evening, just outside of Butler, Pennsylvania, a 20-year-old white male shooter attempted to assassinate Donald J. Trump, former President of the United States, current Republican, about to be nominated in Milwaukee, Republican candidate for this year. The background of this kid we know very little about. One report said that he was a registered Republican. He had only voted once in the off-year local elections in 2022. But as a 17-year-old, he donated $15 to a left-wing political cause. I believe it was on the day that Biden was sworn in. So we really don't know enough about his political leanings one way or the other. Reports from the scene are that he used an AR-style rifle, which was presumed to be 5.56 caliber or .223 Remington. We know nothing about the sights or optics that were on the rifle at this time. The distance from his location to the podium was approximately 125 to 130 yards, or about 115 meters. It was nearly a level shot, no more than a 1 or 2 degree down angle. He was just about level with the U.S. Secret Service counter snipers. There were two teams on two rooftops of about the same height. As near as we can tell, the shooter got off 5 shots. Not what I would call very rapid fire, but a steady cadence of fire, approximately 5 rounds. There was a flurry of shots afterwards, which probably was more shots from the shooter, as well as a kill shot from a U.S. Secret Service sniper. Trump was struck in the right ear on either the, by looking at the video, he was shot on either the first or the second shot. A .556 bullet going by your ear is going to have an extremely vicious supersonic crack. After the first round, we saw his hand go up towards his ear, but just as the second was fired, we saw a little bit of spray going from behind the president's head, and I'd be my guess that was probably the second round that made contact with his ear. There was blood on his face as he was evacuated off the stage, but he is up, fine, mobile, and was just simply treated and released. As I mentioned, the shooter was neutralized by the U.S. Secret Service counter sniper team at some point after the 5th shot being fired by the attacker. Okay, from a sniper's perspective, this is a 20-year-old kid. That tells me he probably has no police experience. He probably has no military experience. Whatever kind of shooting training he's got, he maybe got from his family or rifle club in the area. This is a rural part of Pennsylvania. This is rifle hunting, deer hunting country in Pennsylvania, so it's very possible that he did have some decent experience with a rifle but I think I will point out to you as we go on, he did not understand one particular aspect of rifle fire that probably saved Donald Trump's life. So we will assume a 100-yard zero on the rifle. That is the most common that civilians and even some police agencies use. At 130 yards, there would be less than about a 1/4 inch drop from a 100-yard zero. So essentially, if he's zeroed at 100, he's pretty much zeroed at 130. Put the crosshairs or the sight where you want them and go for the hits. If he used, I'm just going to use standard 5.56, say M193 ball, the 55 full metal jacket, using the ballistics for that round to calculate both drop and windage. This would cause him approximately 1 minute of angle wind drift, or about 1 1/4 inches of wind drift per 10 miles an hour of full crosswind. It appeared from the big flag hanging behind the president, it appeared to me that they had a left to right wind, probably in the vicinity of about 20 miles per hour, perhaps gusting to 25. That means that bullet is going to drift 2.5 to 3.5 inches with that much wind. It's going to drift from a center hold to the right. Possibly that's all it took to save President Trump's life. Was this kid not knowing enough to hold 2.5 to 3 inches into the wind to get a center hit? Okay, here's the windage issue I talked about in the Trump shooting. We have a head width here of just over 7 inches. It's probably a little small, maybe 8.5 inches is what I'm talking about. On a 130-yard shot in wind, that according to the flag, I'm calling it about 20 to 25 miles per hour, from the right, full value, that's going to drift that bullet 2.5 to 3 inches. So let's say, here's our center line. There's 3 inches. If that kid didn't know to hold into the wind with that wind-sensitive round, that's all we needed to change a lucky crease on an ear to a dead center kill shot on former President Trump. Thank you, God. From what we know, he was firing from a prone position over the crest of a shallow angle roof. We don't know if he had mechanical support in the form of a bipod or something like that. Some people on the scene speculated that there could have been a sound suppressor involved. That is not known from the evidence that we have at hand right now. For an experienced rifle shooter, 130 yards, even at 20-mile-an-hour wind conditions, with a 5.56, this is a chip shot. So this kid is not a trained shooter by any means. Now, there have been unconfirmed reports, in fact one congressman reported again this morning, that the U.S. Secret Service had not provided the Trump detail with the necessary manpower and assets that they had requested. A spokesman for the United States Secret Service denies that any assets were withheld. For the kind of people who are in power of our government right now, I don't think we can believe anything this guy says. We know that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., running as an independent, has been denied U.S. Secret Service protection on the direct orders of President Biden. The law allows all viable candidates to have Secret Service protection. Robert Kennedy Jr. requested it. President Biden denied it. There has also been a bill introduced into Congress by a Democratic congressman to remove U.S. Secret Service protection from former President Trump. So these are the kind of people who are running the country right now. I think we can assume these things are probably accurate. All right. What mistakes were made by the U.S. Secret Service? Again, this is not to beat them up. And I want to say right off the top, the body team for President Trump acted instantly, acted aggressively, and acted very, very bravely. When they realized there were shots being fired, they got to him within a couple of seconds and they literally covered him in bodies. They were putting their bodies between the bullets and the former president. You can't ask for any more than that. And when they got him to his feet to get him towards the Suburban, The president did not necessarily cooperate. He's pushing them aside. He's fist pumping and yelling, "Fight, fight." His team did an outstanding job. But the advanced team for Secret Service on this site failed him dramatically. A number of years ago, when I wrote a monthly column for police1.com website, I wrote a column. This was after the Dallas, Texas shooting where 5 police officers were shot, a couple from high-angle rifled attack. And this was after the Las Vegas Country and Western concert attacks where many people were shot from a high-angle hotel room window. In that article, I said that law enforcement absolutely must consider high-angle, long-gun shooters at all high-profile events. And they must conduct an advanced assessment based on their snipers. Get your snipers out there, have them help you with the assessment, and they need to ask a question. If I wanted to make this shot, where would I go? And wherever those snipers say are prime locations to engage the protectee, then we need to put personnel in that event. There's 2 ways to prevent someone from those where I would be locations. You can either occupy the location or you can prosecute whoever might be in that location. Occupy is prevention. That means I'm going to put a cop, not necessarily even a SWAT officer, I'm going to put someone in that high-angle location so that a bad guy can't access it. That's simple. Or I'm going to have to be able to prosecute that from a counter-sniper location somewhere else. Clearly, the U.S. Secret Service chose to prosecute the possible locations rather than to occupy. I'm not 100% correct, but I believe U.S. Secret Service uses the term sterilize any possible sniper locations. They did not do that. Even if they were short of Secret Service assets, there were plenty of uniformed guys with M4s that showed up after the shooting happened. Putting a uniformed cop, local cop, on the roof where this shooter engaged from would have prevented any bad guy from getting access to the roofs in those locations. But to think that they allowed a sniper, viable sniper position within 130 yards of the podium without having someone there, state, local, or fed, I'm sorry, that can't be excused. There was also some kind of failure to receive citizen warnings of a man on the roof with a rifle. I'm going to show you a video of a guy who said he's yelling, waving at the Secret Service that, hey, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle.
Right, we couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking, I'm estimating here, I have no idea, but we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? Like they didn't know what was going on. We're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. He's crawling. And next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for, 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling the police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not, because the roof, the way the slope went, he was behind where they could see. But why is there not Secret Service on all of these roofs here? This is not a big place.
Did you see, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, we just be careful because we don't quite know who's watching. But you're pretty sure they shot the guy.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
I'm on a shooting range right now. I can look right over there at the 100-yard line, a little bit further, say 130 yards. If I wave my hands and yell over there, anybody's going to see me and hear me without specialized equipment. And these counter snipers are up there with high magnification optics. There should have been some system for local cops, anybody who's got a radio. There should be a channel with a code word that they can transmit immediately, which means get your protectee down. There's a possible shooter. That apparently that system did not exist yesterday in Butler, Pennsylvania, because we've got citizens trying to wave to the counter snipers, target them on a rooftop that they were already essentially aimed at, but they didn't fire until the bad guy got 5 shots, 5 potential kill shots if he had known what he was doing. Wow. Now, in fairness to them, when this guy's crawling up the roof, he's on the backside. He's defilade. They cannot see past the peak of that roof on the backside. But at some point, he has to expose himself over the peak of that roof, probably in a prone position, to be able to get line of sight on his target. That should, at 130 yards, you got something the size of a cantaloupe sticking up over the peak of a roof, and you've got high-powered rifle optics and you didn't see it? Okay, my last critical point against the U.S. Secret Service. There was a delay in the sniper firing. That shooter had to be in position over the crest of that roof, I'd say for at least a couple of seconds, to obtain a sight picture on Trump. There were citizens who were attempting to warn them for some time prior to this guy's firing. So I have to ask, did the U.S. Secret Service sniper delay firing until he heard the shots? Are they required to get permission from higher authority to engage? I don't know the answer to that. I would hope they are not. If a sniper is deployed in an event like this, if he sees someone within rifle range and through his probably 10 power or better shooting optics or a spotting scope, if he can identify a rifle in the hands of someone within rifle range who is attempting to bring that thing to bear on your protectee, they should have the ability to use deadly force instantly. Take the shooter out. If it's some idiot with a toy gun, then he died for being stupid. But I know enough about large agencies to know it is very possible the U.S. Secret Service policy might require those snipers to get authorization to engage that target. And that would have made the 2 or 3 seconds difference. They should be able to fire the instant they identify a potentially deadly threat. In this case, they fired after the bad guy fired. M4 carbine. For lack of more knowledge, I will say this is what we're dealing with. Probably a 16-inch barrel. That's the most common that we see today. The originals could have 20. We don't know if he had optics or if he just had iron sights. When I was 20 years old, I was capable of shooting minute of angle groups from a stock Colt AR-15, early, first generation AR-15, using good ammo at 100 yards. So I could hold him in an inch to inch and a half group at 100 yards. If this kid's a good shooter, even iron sights would be good enough. Optics would be better. As I mentioned, being 20, we can assume he had no military or police training in the use of a rifle. He chose a position on the roof. He's approximately level, perhaps a 1 or 2 degree down angle on Trump standing on the stage. He appeared to have some kind of desert camouflage type dress in the photos of him that were taken after he was killed on the rooftop. What would I have done? And that's how we need to pre-plan these things. If I'm the guy who wants to go kill Trump today, where would I be how would I do it as a trained sniper? And I would have to think that even a 20-year-old kid has to understand that he's committing suicide by what he's doing. If you think you're going to pop a head up at 130 yards and fire into a presidential rally and not be killed by a Secret Service counter sniper, then you're a fool. And that's exactly what happened. His first mistake, inadequate training. Second mistake, he went for a headshot. The human head is almost constantly in motion. Trump was talking, moving his head around. In fact, he might have been aimed here, but that turn delivered the bullet to his ear instead of solidly on his head. Again, that might have been the only thing that saved his life. So, two big mistakes. He didn't understand his rifle well enough to know how to use it effectively, and he went for a headshot instead of a torso hit. Those things saved Donald Trump's life. Recommendations. I think they must consider canceling all future outdoor Trump rallies. Or at least use constant overhead surveillance by means of drones or helicopters. You've got to have that eye in the sky looking down behind that military crest of a roof to see if there's someone on the backside. In their pre-planning, they need to identify and physically occupy, not be able to return fire to, but physically occupy any potential sniper locations within a minimum of 500 to 600 yards. Further would be better. If you've got a trained sniper with a long-range rifle, he can be deadly to a very long distance. So they have to identify possible sniper hides, and they have to occupy them with law enforcement. It doesn't have to be Secret Service. It can be just a blue suit local cop with his pistol. They need to ensure that local law enforcement radio traffic is monitored for instant alert of what happened there. Local citizens said, hey, there's a guy on the roof. They're yelling at local cops, go, guy on the roof with a rifle. Apparently that message did not get to the counter snipers in time. So if they don't have a system for instant communications like that, they need to set one up. Give the locals your radios or whatever you got to do, so that anyone has the authority to call out a code word, and anyone who hears that code word puts the president down immediately to get him out of threat. The guy who talked about seeing the guy on the roof, he goes, why is Trump still out there talking? This guy's up on the roof. Can't they see him? No, they probably couldn't see him because he's behind the ridge. He's on the backside of the ridge of that roof. But once he breaks that ridge, once he is exposed, they should instantly be able to see him and instantly be able to identify if he has a threat like a rifle. My last recommendation, wherever they do this, even in indoor facilities, and that occupying potential sniper locations, that goes just as much for a large indoor venue as it does for an outdoor venue. Okay, the Republican National Committee in Milwaukee, that's going to be a huge open area. Same system works there. Where could a sniper fire from? I'm going to put someone in there so a sniper can't access that location. My last recommendation, they should consider a rifle-level, bullet-resistant surround of the speaker's podium. This is like the glass windows on the Pope Mobile. We need to set this up so when that speaker steps into that podium area, he is surrounded to at least 180 degrees by very thick, rifle-resistant, bulletproof glass. Bulletproof is not 100%. Bullet-resistant is the right term. But there is stuff that will stop almost any rifle you're going to bring to bear against it. All right, here's my summary. The body detail for Trump performed spectacularly. At the first indication of a shot, they got to the stage. The president did what he had been trained to do, which is drop, get out of the line of fire. They covered him over. They kept him down. If you listen closely, you will hear partway through this, are we ready to go, ready to go? They don't go until someone says the shooter is down. So they've gotten a radio confirmation that the shooter is down. At that point, they're going to bring him up and move him to that getaway vehicle. As I said, President Trump did not necessarily cooperate. I mean, you got agents holding their hands up trying to screen everything they could, but he's fighting his way through, fist pumping and saying, fight, fight. How can you not vote for a man like that for president. Body detail did a great job. U.S. Secret Service advance party failed to identify and occupy or sterilize all potential sniper locations within reasonable rifle range. They let a guy get within easy chip shot rifle range of that podium. President Trump unquestionably had an angel on his shoulder. 2 or 3 minor things in this shooting had gone differently, this would be an entirely different video today. And we would have a country, I think, on the precipice of all-out war. Because the onus for this attack goes directly to the leftist, to the Democratic Party in this country. The responsibility for this attempted assassination goes one place and one place only: President Joe Biden. He has spent the last several months denigrating Trump. He has used projection, which psychologists call taking your sins and projecting them onto your enemy. We've been told that Trump is an existential threat to this country. He will destroy democracy. He will become a tyrant. He will throw away the Constitution. That's what they want to do, folks. They're telling you exactly what they want to accomplish in the second Joe Biden term. And is it really a Joe Biden term? The Democrats knew when they put him up to run that he was completely inept, unable to serve as president of the United States. And his vice president is so inept, they've kept him in office because she would be even worse. Sorry if you don't like what I'm saying. Turn it off. But that's the truth. Every mainstream media source, MSNBC, CNN, CBS, all of them have picked up this Joe Biden chant to try to destroy Trump in any way possible. But people who have more than 2 brain cells to rub together will remember that under Trump, we had virtually 0 inflation. We had virtually 0 people coming over the southern border. We had a much lower crime rate. We had much higher spendable money in our pockets at the time. Joe Biden has destroyed all of those things in 3.5 years. Or Barack Obama. Or whoever is actually manipulating those puppet strings on Joe Biden. Now they've changed their tune in the last few hours since this shooting. Oh, there's no excuse for political violence at all. They don't mean it, but they know they have to say it. Trust me, they still will do everything they can to destroy Donald Trump. If he does manage to win, to beat out all the election fraud they have planned, then they will redouble their efforts to try to destroy him before he's sworn in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not Democrats versus Republicans. People who know me know that I don't have a lot of use for a lot of the Republicans as well. Career politicians are the problem, in my opinion. This is not Democrat versus Republican. This is good versus evil. It's just that simple. If you like what I'm saying here, if you go back and look at some of my other recent videos where I tell you the kind of violence we're going to anticipate, got this one right. If you like those, then please subscribe. Check it periodically because YouTube has a bad habit of unsubscribing people who have channels they don't like. Several people have told me they did subscribe once, but they've been unsubscribed. And that has happened to me on several channels that I watch regularly. Subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Give me your opinions. Send this around to people you know, because this needs to go viral. I've shown you the wind issue. Wouldn't have taken much for Trump to be dead right now. Thank God he had an angel on his shoulder. Lock and load, folks. I fear we still have dangerous days ahead.
Okay, we got them both here now. You ready? Bud got one. Ginger got one. Uh-huh. Oh, she missed it. She usually gets them, doesn't she, Bud? Mm-hmm. Okay, girl. Last one. You ready? You ready? Yeah. That's all there is till next time.